Over the course of several years, we've shot the Blum Tandem installation video a couple of times. We're still not happy with the video and how it's portraying the installation of the Blum Tandem glides, but right when we decided to reshoot the video, Conestoga has changed and improved the way they install these glides. In the past, our other videos showed the use of a jig, where this is the locator jig to mount the rear brackets to the back wall of the cabinet. Conestoga is now pre-pilot holing two little locator holes in the back of the cabinet, which will tell you where to put the bracket. So the jigs are no longer even available. So what we're going to do in this video is start from scratch and walk you through the full Blum Tandem installation, from mounting the orange release handles to the drawer box, how to do the actual installation of the glides for both inset and overlay, and talk about some of the nuances there, and then talk also about if you don't have a standard cabinet configuration, Conestoga cannot do the whole pilot hole boring for you in the back of the cabinet. You'll have to hand locate your jigs. So if you're doing some odd front frame configuration with 7 drawer fronts in it, they're not going to pilot hole those for you. You'll have to hand locate it. We'll show you how to do that. So let's start with talking about the tools you're going to need, as well as what comes with the hardware pack for the Blum Tandem, so you can be certain you have everything in the bag. As far as tools go, all you really need for this is a screw gun, Phillips head. Cordless screw gun is great, and if you need some fine tuning, you can always use a Phillips head screwdriver. We rarely need that, but you might want to have one handy. So let's talk about what comes with your Blum Tandems. All the Blum Tandem glides are going to come in a poly pack like this. Has everything you need to install the glides. Inside that box, you're going to have a left and a right glide rail. They're going to be mirror images of each other. You'll have a screw pack, and there's 2 or 3 different kinds of screws. We're going to talk about how each is used. They're not all the same, so you want to pay attention to the video to make sure you're using the right screws in the right locations. You'll get a left and right release handle, which is what goes on the drawer box. We'll demonstrate in a minute. And then you'll get your 2 rear mounting brackets that go on the cabinet back wall. You'll also get an instruction booklet, which you don't really need if you're watching this video. We're walking you through it anyway, and I think it's a little more clear on the video than it will be trying to read the Blum technical stuff. If you're doing inset, you're also going to get one package. They're not packed with the drawer glides, they're packed separately, but it's a package of these beige kind of brown colored brackets. We'll show you what they're for inset installations only. They carry the front edges of the drawer glide rails, which cannot sit on the front frame on an inset application. So we'll cover those when it comes time for inset. So let's get started by showing you how the orange brackets get mounted to the drawer box itself. Okay, so here we have a base 24 cabinet we're working with. So we've got our drawer box. You'll notice that the rear of the drawer box, I have it flipped upside down obviously, the rear of the drawer box has a notch cut in it with a hole. And that's going to accept the rear of the drawer glide. A little hook goes into that hole to keep the drawer box from tipping. What we care about right now is the front of the drawer box. So we have our left and right orange release handles. They're marked L and R. You should have one of each in every bag. It's not unheard of to get 2 lefts or 2 rights, because Blum mispackages them. No problem, just let us know. We'll send you the one you're missing. But on the drawer box itself, there's 2 little pilot holes in each corner. We're just going to pull the little orange bracket into the corner, and it's obvious how it goes. The right angle nests into the corner, and now I can squeeze the release handle to pull the drawer box out. So these go into the corner, and then in that screw bag I mentioned earlier, there's a couple different kinds of screws. There's 2 flathead screws. You want to set those off to the side. They get used to install the glide rails in the cabinet. What we care about is the panhead, round-headed screws, Phillips. There's 4 of those you're going to need here, 2 in each handle. So keeping my drill, I don't want to get too vertical, because if I go in at too much of an angle, this is going to tip up, and then the release handle will not engage the drawer track. So to keep this nice and tight to the drawer bottom, we want to find that hole and keep our drawer, or our drill rather, as flat as we can. And just a little bit of, we don't want to use a lot of pressure or a lot of drill speed, because you'll strip the threads right out of that wood. You just want to, nice and slow, even pressure, just get those screws in. You can see now this is nice and tight to the drawer bottom. Again, if this is tipping up, you're going to have an issue with the drawer tracks engaging later on in the installation, so you want to make sure these are flat. Again, folks, remember these holes are pre-drilled for you, so you do not need to worry about drilling these. If they come undrilled, they're easy to drill yourself, but it's not, again, uncommon for Conestoga to miss those, but it's not frequent either. So keep your drill flat, find that hole, run her in. So now what we have is a drawer that's prepped to go in. So if this is right side up and I'm trying to take that drawer track out, I'll just squeeze these release handles to pull the drawer up and out of the cabinet itself. Very simple. Now let's move on to the installation of the tracks themselves in the cabinet. We're going to start with overlay and then move into inset. As we move on to the second part of our video here, we're going to be talking about how to install these metal brackets. A couple of points I want to make before we do that is, again, this is for inset or overlay. This operation I'm about to show you is the same. Doesn't matter. The only time inset or overlay is different is when we actually install the glide rail and try to attach it to the face of the cabinet. So these go in the same way. I also want to make the point that any Blum Tandem, the wooden jigs I showed earlier, they no longer work. The placement has been changed a little bit. So if you try to use an old jig you have, or you're one of our cabinet shop customers, the jigs no longer work. They've changed the alignment to give you a little bit more play in the drawer, and we've tried it out. It works really well. The other point I want to make is, again, these will not be used if your drawer glide is anything other than for an 18, 21, or 24 deep cabinet. The super deep or super shallow cabinets don't install this way. So let's get started showing you how these install on these new pilot holes. First of all, you're going to need your round head screws, 4 of them, 2 per bracket, and we're just going to find the center of the hole. There's 2 slotted holes, vertical slotted holes in the dead center of the bracket. You want to use the center of that hole, the top and bottom hole, 1 in each hole, and you're good to go. So just line it up with the actual pilot holes, and you're done. So now once you've done that on both the left and right sides of your cabinet, you can simply move on to the installation of the tracks themselves, which is what we're going to do in a minute. Because we use the adjustable holes, if you find that your drawer track is running uphill or downhill after your installation, you do have some finite adjustment where you can move the bracket up or down, maybe a total of about 1/4 of an inch, 3/16 of an inch, which will allow you to level out your drawer tracks a little bit better. So another point I want to make with these brackets, we're showing you this in a vertical situation. Cabinet is upright, just for video purposes. You might find, we find this in our shop, laying these cabinets down on their back and you're running the drill down into the back. You're not holding things up in the air while things are trying to fall down with gravity. Much easier if they're on their back. So if you have that opportunity and you're not trying to install the drawer tracks when the cabinets are already installed in the kitchen, lay them on their back. You'll find that to be a bit easier on you. Let's move on to the third part of our video and finish it up. Okay, in this section of the video, we're going to show you how to install the actual drawer glides themselves into the cabinet box. This part of the video we're going to talk about as if this was an overlay installation. Now, observant customers will see that, hey, this is a beaded inset cabinet. Why are you doing it as overlay? This is just to demonstrate it for our overlay clients. We're going to come back and use the same box for a true beaded inset drawer glide install. So when you grab your drawer tracks, you're going to find a left and a right. So I'm holding the right-hand one here. Yeah, my right, your left. So you can see how the big flat plenums will go to the outside of the cabinet. You don't want to get them reversed. They won't install that way. So I want to go ahead and take my right-hand or left-hand track, and all I have to do is reach into the cabinet and slide the slot, and I'll show you this in a second. We're going to slide this slot here onto the metal tangs in the back of the cabinet. This little slot slides onto that T, and it's got some fore-aft maneuverability. You can go in and out quite a bit, and it's also allowing the track to rack left or right as you install or slide in and out the drawer box. It'll self-parallel the glides, so you don't have to worry about, oh, are the drawer glides running dead parallel? This will take care of it because there's adjustability while you're pushing and pulling on that drawer. So just slide that onto the metal tang in the back. We'll do that on both of these. Now what I want to talk about is the position of the front of the drawer glide on the front frame. So the front frame here is carrying the weight of the drawer box. So there's plenty of strength there. What you're looking for in this case, we're looking for the 2 flathead screws. They're not the panhead ones. These are an actual flathead screw. They got a big head to hold this thing on. You're going to push the drawer glide back until it is 5/32 of an inch from the front of the front frame. Now we've already pre-measured these, so I'm not going to bother showing you the tape measure work, but you just want the front edge of this vertical part of the metal bracket or the glide 5/32 back. We do recommend you pilot hole drill into your front frame so you don't split the wood. And you just run that in. You can hear my ratchet or my clutch on my drill going. We've set these drills so that they won't overstrip the screws. You'll want to do the same. Okay, so these are in there nice and secure, ready to go. And now I want to grab my drawer box, step off camera here and grab the drawer box and show you how that slides in. From earlier in our video, we put those brackets on. I'm just going to take the drawer box, brackets forward, just set it on the glide rails, and give it a push, and you'll hear it click. There's an audible click. When that click happens, the orange brackets have received the drawer glide up underneath, and now the drawer can't pull out of the cabinet. It comes out full extension, but no more. If I want to release that, I just squeeze the orange release levers and lift the drawer up and out of the cabinet. So it's super easy to get these drawers in and out of these cabinets. We're going to go into a fourth segment of the video, and I want to show you the nuances with Inset. So anybody who's doing overlay, you're done. You can move on and start upfitting your cabinets. If you're Inset, hang with us now because it's a little more complicated for you folks. Okay, Inset folks, get your tools because now it's on you to follow the video the rest of the way. This isn't hard. It's just a little more fussy work. So still all you need is a Phillips head screw gun, but you're going to find in your hardware package these little brown mounting brackets. These are much easier to put on before you've assembled the cabinet. So pretend that you're just unboxing the cabinet. If you have the presence of mind while you're putting on the hinges and all that kind of stuff we talk about in other videos, much easier to put these brackets on before you've assembled the cabinet. If the box is already built, it's not a big deal. Don't freak out. You can still reach through the top of the cabinet and install these. We're going to demonstrate it with the frame off the box. So what I've got here is another frame from the job I'm going to demonstrate it on. This is not the cabinet we're already showing in the video. But I'm going to open this bag up. There's a series of screws here, and you've got two hard plastic brackets. These long screws are what hold the brackets to the back of the front frame. You've got a couple of shorter screws for each one that you can use, and then these little machine screws are what hold the actual drawer glide to this plastic bracket. There's a little receiving plate in here with threads in it. So I'll show you how all this works in a minute, but your kit should include 2 of these, 4 of these, 2 of the machine screws, and 4 of these shorter wood screws. Let's show you how these brackets go on. You have, if you can see the back of this bracket, you have 2 holes here, which take the deep long screws, and there's 2 holes way down in here that take the machine screws, or the shorter wood screws rather. So if I was to stand this front frame up, the way these would work is you have kind of an ugly looking side that has the holes, and then the smooth side. You want the ugly side facing in, and there's like a notch on the back of this. You're going to run that up against the front frame, and you can see there's a hard point there. Slide it all the way down until it hits the bottom of the front frame. That's the location you want this to be in. So I can spin this so the camera can see it a little better. Kind of looks like that. Okay, so now I'm going to take the camera back down, or the front frame back down to flat so that you can see me screw these in. I'm going to take my 4 long Phillips head screws, going in through my long holes. Just run in until your drill wants to stop. Again, no over torquing, no splitting of wood. If you want to pre-drill these, feel free. That's not a bad idea. Now I'm going to take my 2 shorter screws and going into the inner holes that are down inside this little cavity. We're going to screw those in. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side of the frame. There's 1 for each drawer glide rail, so I'm going to do the same thing on the other side of the frame. Okay, we're in our final step for installing these in Inset cabinets, and this is actually very simple. It's actually simpler in this case for Inset once you've got those brackets on than it is for overlay. And I'll show you why. The drawer glide slides onto the rear bracket the exact same way. So just pass the drawer glide through the opening and onto those tangs in the back. Step in here real quick. Okay. The difference is instead of the drawer glide sitting on the front frame, the drawer glide for Inset has to be back inside the cabinet because the drawer box is back inside the cabinet. With nothing to support the drawer glide, it would just fall down. So the purpose of these brackets is to give you something to mount to. In the olden days, Blum or Conestoga or any cabinet shop would have to use blocks of 3/4 inch wood back here to flush the cabinet side out with the front frame, and you'd screw to that. This is a much more well-engineered approach. So the trick here is there's a little ridge right here, and you want to run the vertical metal piece of the drawer glide right up to the back of that ridge. You can hear it hitting. It's very obvious. Run it right up to the back of the ridge and line the top row of holes up with the little sliding square threaded receiving plate. So I'm going to grab this with my thumb. I'm going to grab my machine screw. Recall we had 2 machine screws in our package. It's a Phillips head, so you can keep the same bit. And I'm just going to find that little receiving plate and run my machine screw in. Now you can see I got some fore-aft movement here. So this is my last opportunity to pull the drawer glide right up tight behind that little flange, hold it with my thumb, and run that screw in tight. And now my drawer glide is tight, won't move fore and aft. I'm installed. Do the same thing on the right-hand side. Install your drawer box the same way. Slide it until it clicks and you're good to go. So this gives you the ability to control the in-out position of your drawer box without having to keep re-screwing screws into wood. So when you're done and you put your drawer front on your cabinet and you say, oh man, my drawer front's sticking out of the inset cabinet front frame by 1/8 of an inch. What do I do now? Take the drawer out, loosen that screw, move it back in 1/8 of an inch on both sides, tighten it up, put your drawer box back in. So this gives you that in-out adjustment quick as you could want. The last step of the video, and this is optional to watch, but this is for folks who you said, hey, you know, I don't want a normal base 24 with a 5-inch opening, I want a 7-inch opening. Conestoga is not going to bore those or pilot hole those rear bracket locations for you. So you're either going to get no pilot holes at all in your cabinet back, or if we use the assumption that one of our sales folks used a standard base 24 as the platform on which to make your custom box, the locations of those holes are going to match a standard base 24. So you as the customer need to know, well, how do I locate those brackets if there's no pilot holes? It's really very simple. All you have to do is make sure the edge, the outer edge, so I'm not sure if the camera can see this, but the outer edge over here of the bracket, the outbound side of the bracket, is a 1/2 inch from the cabinet wall. So that space right there from the edge of the bracket to the cabinet wall must be a 1/2 inch. The level of the bracket is simply whatever the opening height is. So if I measure from the cabinet floor to the bottom of this opening, and that's 22.5 inches, the bottom of the bracket back here is 22.5 inches. So you can simply take your tape measure, measure up and strike a pencil line. That's your elevation top to bottom. And then you can measure in from the side a 1/2 inch, and that's your left to right measurement. So you can do that very quickly with all of your drawer glides, and if you want to make a jig, you can do that as well. It's not that hard. It only adds a couple of minutes per cabinet, but Conestoga is not yet to the point of being able to bore those pilot holes on a custom basis. I think that wraps up our video. We hope this has answered all your questions. This is one of the more complicated installation questions we get, and we hope this video has really kind of solved some of that for you. But if you have any questions, just give us a call.